We ended it within the marriage without him even leaving the home before it even ended. The kids didn't even know what was going on. He would sleep in one room, I'd sleep in the other. I'd make food, he didn't want to have nothing to do with it.
What is up, everyone? I'm your host, Alannized, and this is Noche de Pendejadas, your favorite podcast turned talk show en donde yo traigo a tus influencers favoritos para platicar y posiblemente sacarles sus trapitos al sol. Hoy les tengo un episodio que yo sé que allá en casita ustedes están súper emocionadas de escuchar y ver. So without any further ado, please help me welcome my guest tonight, Alesia Tess! ¿Cómo estás, amiga?
I'm good.
Bienvenida al podcast, you guys. Let me just say, first of all, I'm so excited de tenerte aquí el día de hoy. Do you remember how this kind of happened? Casi la obligamos, amiga. Literal. I think it was Adam's birthday party.
Yeah.
Borrachos. I was like, oh my God, like we should do a podcast. La Josie was like, sí, that would be so iconic. Y pues gracias a la Josie, amigas, aquí estamos el día de hoy. And I'm super excited to have you sitting down right here with us para poder conocerte un poquito más de tu historia y pues de todo lo que has hecho durante tu vida. Antes de que empecemos, te voy a dar el momento para que nos digas un poquito más quién eres y qué haces for those that are at home que a lo mejor no te conocen.
I'm Alesia Tess, and I'm a social media manager for Josie, Alesia, Tessa, and Nathaniel. Those are my 3 babies of social media.
Ella es la mamá de Nate, Tessa, and Josie, which we've actually had both of your daughters on the podcast before. Yo parezco el pinche Thanos, amigas, colectando all the Infinity Stones. Primero me traje a la Josie, hace poco a la Tessa, y hoy tenemos a su mamá, amigas, para poder conocerla un poquito más. I'm so excited. Ayer estaba haciendo todas las preguntas, and I feel like you've gone through so much, and I'm like, you know what? Estoy súper emocionado de tenerte aquí el día de hoy. El episodio de hoy, amigas, es un episodio muy especial por 2 razones. La primera es because this is our Mother's Day special. Este fin de semana es el Día de las Madres. If you're a madrecita viendo y escuchando at home, Happy Mother's Day. Y pues también porque this is the 3rd to last episode de esta temporada de Noche de Pendejadas, amigas. Y pues yo bien contento de que estés aquí el día de hoy. Ya vamos a empezar con el chisme, amigas. Ya vamos a empezar con todo. Yo quiero saber cómo fue tu infancia. How were you growing up?
My childhood started off pretty rough. My parents were teenagers themselves, and I grew up in San Bernardino, California. Since they were troubled, I was sent off to grandparents' house. And since it was too much for my grandparents, me and my brother were separated. So he had to be with one grandparent, I was with the other. So we were always separated. And then I would say I was like 7 years old. And it was really hard for us because since we did grow up with our grandparents, we finally were reconnected. And we were told that we had to move away because our parents, they were trying to get clean, let's say. And they were transferred to Kansas. And
both of them?
Okay. They were transferred out to Kansas to have to better their life and to get clean. So we were both ripped from our grandparents, living that stable life. When we went out there, it was between, like, they were the ones raising us now. Yeah. And it was, I would say it was good for a good couple years, and then everything just kind of went.
Tus papás grew up, I'm assuming doing drugs, very troubled, childhood for them as well. Obviamente eso te afectó a ti. Did you know what was going on a esa edad? Did you understand why you had to stay with your grandparents? Or was that just kind of like the norm for you? Like, oh, your parents are leaving you with your grandparents y tú ni en cuenta lo que estaba pasando?
Let's just say that even though you're very young, I knew, and we would always have to have our grandparents help with situations and really bad situations. And when we were told that we had to leave, we didn't want to do it. We already knew. But I think they tried. I think they tried really hard to make it work. And when things started to go bad at such a young age with me, then that's when I didn't really have direction from my parents, so that's why I lived a very troubled teenage life too. I think about it all the time. It's almost like very traumatic to where you even think about stuff, even to the point where things that happened in my own life now to where, you know how when you have things happen to you and then you're like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You pick and choose what you want in your life, and things that like everything that happens for a reason. And I feel like things that did happen, I picked and choose what I wanted to bring into my own. That's why with my children, I wanted them to have a better life, and things that they didn't discipline on, I did, like, you know. And then bad parts of things that did happen that I started to, from growing up, thinking that that's how you handle things. And then noticing, no, I don't want to be like how they were. I changed it. I seen a lot of domestic abuse and the drugs and the alcohol that both my parents did at the time. A lot of partying, a lot of everything bad that you can think of.
Do you feel like growing up and seeing that, did that kind of, you know, make you como una niña que a la mejor always lived on edge? You always felt like, oh my God, I gotta be almost walking on eggshells with my parents because I don't know si una bomba va a explotar ahorita. Did you ever feel like it kind of made you, I don't know, like very to yourself and not as confident growing up because there was like an instability growing up in your household?
Yes. And we moved a lot. Well, when they did try to live a better life out in Kansas, we moved so much. I went to every single high school that was there. And then out here in California too, like I went to a lot of high schools out here. I literally have a stack of IDs, of high school IDs. I'm like, there's only 4 years, but...
How was that for you? Did you enjoy, you know, el de siempre cambiándote de escuela?
Literally, I would literally be like, okay, I talk too much. I let people know too much in this school. I'm going to be a new person this time. I'm not going to do, you know?
Yeah, it gave you like a second chance at life every single time.
I think I even lied a little bit. This girl walked up to me in high school and she was like, are you Filipino and Mexican? I was like, mm-hmm.
I'm like, sure. You're like, well, that got me cool points. Literally.
But I would just agree, like, or if they would say, is your name, how do you say your name, Alicia? And I was like, mm-hmm.
Obviamente nos cuentas de que tus papás, you know, were going through stuff, but did you feel like there was moments where you actually had like a good relationship with either or?
Now, my dad is my cheerleader. Like, he really is. He has gotten clean, and he's raising my little sister on his, well, not on his own, but with his wife. She's 10. So Josie, Nathaniel, and Tessa have a 10-year-old aunt. He's doing really good for himself. I love him to death. The past, I do feel like I may have a little bit of abandonment issues because when they couldn't handle things, we were brushed to the grandparents.
Yeah.
So, like, I think as a child, but now understanding, like, I felt like they don't want me. They didn't, you know, like.
You felt rejection.
Yeah. But as an adult now, I'm just like, okay, like, I love them for them being at the worst that they were just like, you know what I mean? I'm glad that my grandparents were there, both of them.
¿Y cómo está tu mamá?
My mom still hasn't gotten clean. I really don't know. I haven't talked to her in years. It's really sad on that situation because I would say that we were close. The closest that you could, like how I am with my girls. My parents had a separation and she went downhill and never came back up.
Do you feel like that affects you to this day, like not being able to like call up your mom or just having her in your life, especially now, ya como adulta, seeing how close you are with your girls and, you know, with your son as well? Does that ever trigger you like, damn, like I wish I had my mom to have these type of moments the same way I'm having these moments with my girls?
Yes. I think the most of those times were when the kids were younger because I would see women getting help and just the love of a grandparent with their grandbabies or anything like that. I think it was mostly then. That's when I felt like kind of jealous, I'll be honest. Yeah. But now it's just that I think the realization of like one day like we won't be here anymore and it's just like I don't have access to her at all. Because I try to reach out sometimes even though like I'll be honest, like she's in the wrong with a lot of stuff because she has a lot of hardship that she's gone through. But I've always been there, and then now it's just a cutoff, and that's it.
I feel like it gets harder too as you get older because I'm sure tú ya tienes pues tu vida, you know, tus hijos, you know, as you start getting older, tu familia, that it just kind of becomes like, fuck, there's like nothing I can do to salvar or to better that relationship with your mom, even if you do want that. De chiquita, did you ever have moments where, you know, your parents kind of te sentaban y te decían, mija, perdónanos, this is going on with us? Or was it just kind of like, almost like, oh, there's no need to explain to her, it's just gonna happen?
It was absolutely nothing. It was just...
¿Ni tus abuelitos te explicaban?
No, it was just... live and move on. That's what I do.
You're like,
and I
that's...
have to admit, that's one thing that I probably do with my own. And I maybe I need to work on that because what I do when we get into an argument with the girls or anything like that, we just act like nothing happened the next day.
Quiero platicar un poquito más de otro tema. A los 15 años, pierdes a tu mejor amiga. She passes away. Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso. What did this friend mean to you en ese tiempo? ¿Cómo pasaron las cosas? ¿Cómo te diste cuenta de lo que había pasado? ¿Y cómo te afectó a ti todo eso en ese momento?
I would say I was like around 14, about to be 15. We were in junior high, and I was in Kansas. I was sitting down at the table. I'll be honest with you, I think I was in trouble.
You're like, I was in detention. Literally.
And she walks by me and she says, "You're not from here, huh?" And I go, "No." And then I looked at her up and down, and I go, "You're not either, huh?" And she goes, "No." I said, "I could tell." And she goes, "I'm from Texas." I go, "I'm from California." And it was because, I'll be honest with you, we looked like girls. We had like girl clothes on. And in Kansas, they all dressed like boys. I don't know what television show they watched or what, but they tried to dress like cholos and cholas. Okay. And I just dressed, I was considered like, I guess I was whitewashed because I was dressed like spaghetti strap and,
Okay.
And I dressed like a girl. And then we just hit it off from there. I'm telling you, every day we would hang out. There was another girl that would hang out with us. It was a trio. It was me, my friend Angie, and Gracie. And we would always hang out with each other, but more me and Angie on our own or more her,
Yeah.
And I'm telling, her mom knew my mom. That's how, and then we had words that meant things that, we would try to make up languages, stuff like that. That's how close we were. I knew her family, she knew mine. And then there was just one night where we were all gonna hang out, and she had this new boyfriend, and we were going to pick her up, but she went with him. So we were like, go ahead, whatever. And then we were going to meet up with her, and she didn't call us. So we were like, okay, whatever, we're going to do our own thing. That morning, we got a phone call, and it was her mom. She couldn't even talk. And then her brother jumped on the phone and just straight up told us, like as if it was yesterday. I can remember. And I mean, I've even been told that the mom has wanted to reach out to me. It was like years back, and I just can't do it.
Like it triggers you?
Yeah. It really,
so I don't
think they even understand like how much that traumatized me. They never did find out who did it, but I can't imagine. Like, I've lived that with my own kids. I'm like telling them, you can't. That's why I'm so strict with them. I'm like, in an instant, anything can happen, because it happened to me.
So
like,
no fue como un accidente, like a car accident. It was like murder almost?
Yes, it was murder. And she was with her boyfriend. It was a fight, and they shot her instead. And then he got, like, he's okay, but she didn't make it.
¿Cómo te afectó eso, obviamente, at 15? And nos cuentas un poquito that you already had lived so much, with your parents. You find this best friend, almost like a sister.
Yeah.
Y se te va. ¿Cómo te afectó eso emocionalmente a ti?
My God. I don't think I even knew what to even do with myself. My mom even went into depression with me because she didn't know how to
deal with it.
Me.
Yeah.
And I acted out. I did things that I wish I could take back, and I wasn't myself after that. And I brought that into my adult life.
Do you feel like it was hard for you to cope with the loss? Like, was there moments where you didn't want to accept the reality?
I was sitting with my mom one day, and I think it was I had cried and everything at the very beginning. Then days later went on, and I was not upset. I was not crying. And then just out of nowhere, I looked at my mom and I go, "Mom, she's gone."
Yeah.
And then
I feel like that comes with the grief. I feel like you said earlier, life just moves so quickly that there's times where you're like, oh, my best friend or whoever has passed away, están en su casa. You really do kind of envision them in the last place you saw them or knew they were at. And then there's waves where you're like, shit, they're not home. They're not wherever I think they are, they're no longer here, Nos cuentas that you started acting out. Cuéntanos un poquito más de esos momentos. What did you do? Were you doing these things to kind of cope and distract yourself from all the pain you were feeling? Cuéntanos un poquito más de ese tiempo en tu vida.
I think that I did. I don't know necessarily if it was just to mask everything that was happening. After that, I just was like, I don't care anymore. And I was like, if it can happen to her, it can happen to me. I'm invisible, which was not the way to think. But I went on a path of a whole lot of bad things where I had ran away, and I ran away to Mexico. Yeah.
Tell us more about that. How did that even idea, you think you're in Kansas. How did you think a Mexico?
An actual troubled ex-boyfriend. And he was going to visit his grandmother to help her. I don't know exactly what was happening or what. And he was like, I'm going. Do you want to go? And I was like, let's go. And I called my friend. She was like, I'm down. Let's go. And we just left. And, I was the one that was driving. I was like, I don't think I even had my license yet. We even got stopped. My grandma, her brother was the sheriff of San Bernardino, and they put our picture at the border. Girl, we went all the way through. They stopped us and everything, and they didn't say anything. And I didn't even have a license. I had a permit, and
How long did you stay over there?
I think we stayed for like a week.
Oh, okay. And during that time, was there people calling you up like, "Regresa, ¿dónde estás?"
We didn't have phones back then.
So even if they did,
so they went crazy.
They thought que te robaron o algo.
Let me tell you, when I got back, right away they were like, "Hey, the mom and the dad, they've been here every day. They're trying to look for her, this and that." I mean, I know the other parents were looking for like my friend and stuff like that, but mine went overboard. But they went so overboard. Let's just say I got pulled out of the house. Yeah, I got pulled out, as I should, because girl, I had to get traumatized some way to never do something like that.
What do you mean by pulled out? Like arrastrada? Como mop. Te trajeron limpiando toda la colonia. Did you feel like in that moment like it was justified, or were you like angry, like what the hell? Because obviously you were troubled.
I knew. That was at the time where my parents were trying to do good.
Okay.
And I knew I messed up. And I was being a selfish little girl. I was so close to my mom. I told her everything that happened. She told me everything that they did to like find me or anything like that. They had me on their own house arrest, took the phone, everything away from like the house phone. Yeah, I found another phone.
I found my ways. That's crazy. Did you ever like rebel out anytime after that, or you kind of like stopped afterwards?
Girl, I was like, okay, I had my brother, but he ended up moving out early, and so I was considered like an only child.
Okay, so la última casi.
So within the first week, my mom was I was such a mama's girl, and then I'm my dad's only baby. So, please, can I go out, please? And then, okay, yeah.
Con los ojitos, claro, mija.
Yeah, because my dad, he was a security at a club, and he was like, only because I'm going to be there. I'm like, that's the only place I want to go.
Would you get into like the all age ones or like the 21 and over?
It was 21 and over.
¿Cómo la hacías? Did you ever get
my
caught?
dad would have me sit at a table, and then he'd watch me, and then he'd let me take my friends, and we'd get in free, and then we would just sit there. But
because your dad, okay.
Yeah, and it was the cumbia clubs. It wasn't nothing ratchet or anything.
So it's like para bailar, que sea un pasito. Cuéntanos un poquito más. I want to go back, to the passing of your best friend. Obviamente, pierdes a tu mejor amiga. Did that change like your outlook in life? Obviamente, el tener a alguien y luego el próximo día you're like, oh shit, they're not here. Did that make you almost like, cherish everyone that was close to you, because you kind of in your head were like, you know what, like this can be the last time I see this person, may that be your mom, your dad, or a friend?
1,000%. It changed my whole perspective of everything, especially with my kids, because I knew that at any age that something like that can happen. And that's why the one time I let Tessa out, Josie, I don't think I ever really let her go out right by herself at that age at all. But the one time I let Tessa out, she messed that up real quick, never letting that happen.
Was that the time cuando se fue to the esquina with her friend in San Bernardino?
Oh, that's the time where I had to like,
you're like, do some whooping.
Yeah, just like how literally. I did. But no, this time was, I let her go with her friends for the first time. And she ended up taking an Uber home by herself. When she said she had a ride, I went ballistic. I was like, the Uber could take you. Oh my God. And I'm calling her. I have whenever they go out with a friend, I go, give me their number. So whenever I can't get a hold of them within the first ring, she doesn't answer the first ring, I call the friend. And when I called the friends, I was like, you guys are never talking to her again, this and that. Like, I was angry.
What was her excuse in ese momento?
Oh, that
She's like, it didn't work out last minute.
They wanted to stay, and I didn't want to mess up their time. And I knew I had a curfew, and I wanted to take my responsibility to not mess their time up, and I just wanted to come home. To the point where her phone died, and she called for the Uber driver, and he goes, everything's okay, everything. I was like,
But I feel like that is very smart, though, because you are aware that anything and everything can happen in a split of a second.
Yep.
I feel like as kids, maybe, you know, when you were grounding her, she was like, why is she exaggerating? A la mejor ella en su mente, like, oh my God, my mom's too extra. But it really is like, when you're cautious of what can happen, en verdad que sí, you limit the amount of things that can happen, because the world is crazy, especially nowadays. I feel like sales y a lo mejor no llegas a la casa ese momento. You know, platícanos un poquito más about the grieving process. Nos cuentas that it was really hard for you when it came down to grieving your best friend. What do you think was like the hardest part when it came to grief? And if you can give someone a piece of advice that is currently going through grief or something similar, what would you tell them?
Oh, wow. Enjoy the time that you have with the people that you're around. I don't know if anybody ever picked up on it from events or just anybody that comes to my house. The only thing that comes out my mouth, be careful, be careful. Like, that's what I always, my son, I see him like less than the girls, and I just cannot say that enough. Just be careful. When I hear someone's sick, or when I hear someone's hurt or anything, I will cut them off now. And it's just my mechanism, my coping mechanism, because I feel like if I get too close to them, then it's gonna be too much, because I do have there's been 2 traumatic passings that they were really close to me, which was my friend and then my grandfather that passed away. There was even a point where I even told both of them, they were not answering my call. I even yelled at them, and then I go, you know what? I was like, I told my family, I said, if anything ever happens, don't tell me. Just don't tell me, and just be like, they're not here. They're not here. Okay. I'll live with that for the rest of my life. There is times too where I feel a regret, but then it's selfish. I know it's really selfish, but it's just how I'm dealing with it. Like, I had a favorite aunt, that she was diagnosed with cancer, and I stopped reaching out to her. And then when she passed,
You balled out.
I did, but I didn't do anything because I didn't want to deal with it.
And I think that's very valid. You know, my grandpa passed away last year too. He's about to be a year. And I feel like I was closer, and I've always been closer to my grandma. But I feel like it's very valid, the not wanting to deal with it, because I feel like I always tell my boyfriend and my best friend that I always catch myself. Like, obviamente ya falleció mi abuelito. I try to call my grandma as much as I can. But I feel like there's times where I avoid her because it's almost like, acuérdate, ya no está tu abuelito. Like, and I feel like I hate remembering, and I hate like going back and accepting the fact that he's no longer here. So I feel like on me, it just makes it easier kind of to like, I don't know. I think that kind of does sound messed up in a way, but it's also like how we cope with traumas, how we cope with things. It's almost like our brain is trying to save us from the bigger heartbreak. But I do think it's like a mental thing that our brain kind of shuts off. And they're like, no, you have too much to deal with. One less thing. What do you feel like are things that you do now that are like trying to make you better when it comes to that? Or is it something you still struggle with?
I think it's something I still struggle with. I think it's just because of everything that's going on in my life too. I don't want to put that onto them.
You know, quiero platicar de otra cosa que te pasó casi a los 15 años también. You went to jail or juvie. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. ¿Qué es lo que hiciste? ¿Cómo pasó? And what was it like for you the moment that you realized you were getting arrested?
Altogether, I would say that just with our family in general, that all of us have always been known as like fighters. Not my kids.
Not my kids. Josie's over there cracking up.
Like I said, I cut off a lot of stuff that, you know, that I didn't want to bring onto my family. But we were always known as fighters. To this day, I think my mom's still going that I know of.
So she was like very into that lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay.
To the point where I know that my mom used to have us cousins just fighting and pulling hair just for fun. That's why.
She's like entertainment.
Yeah.
She's like WWE
like, get him,
now.
Like, no, so that whenever anything ever happened.
Oh, okay. Like almost training you guys. Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yes. That was just, I had just came back from California and I came to visit. We had a bunch of friends over or whatever. It was like a movie. It was like a whole bunch of people were there. I ended up fighting this girl. I fought her really bad. The cop came. All I remember is seeing cops, and then a cop drew his gun out on me, and I still didn't stop. To the point where, like, as an adult, I'm like, was I stupid? Like,
yeah.
I probably, like, I could have, life-changing things could have just happened. And it was just a whole...
Y te arrestaron, te ponieron en el carro y te llevaron?
Yeah.
What was that moment like for you? Nos cuentas that, you know, obviamente while it was happening, I'm sure the adrenaline was like going high. You weren't noticing,
yes,
you weren't
and you
realizing.
know, even after that, I was just like, oh, they're going to take us to go call our parents and then I'm going to go home. Nuh-uh, that didn't happen
What
for
happened?
6 months.
Wait, you were in there for 6 months?
Yes. It was juvenile hall. My parents were out on vacation. So, like, I'm by myself, called my grandma in California. She ended up saying, you know, like, she was gonna get a hold of them, and then I'm like, I'm by myself, like, I'm getting my pictures, my mug, you know, everything taken, and I'm getting put in, and I'm seeing people, like, I'm like, this is not where I need to be, this is not where I should be. Months have gone on. I always tell the kids, like, correctional officers that were in there or whatever, the young girls were saying, like, that one's mine, you better not look at him. Girl, when it was like my 4th month in, I was like, don't be looking at it.
You're like, that one's mine. That's crazy. What was it like in there though? Like, what were you doing like day to day? Was it
was
like
24 hours I was locked up. And so that's what I always tell the kids. I'm like, that got me prepared for marriage. I would wake up, clean, and then eat, shower, and then go back to sleep.
Repeat. Did you ever get in problems with like other girls that were in there?
Actually, there was, and the correctional officers there were trying to get me to fight her, and I was like, and I go, I'm trying to get out of here. They were like, get her, we need some action. I was like, yeah.
Hijos de su madre. What was the moment like? You know, obviamente you stay there 6 months. How did you get out? Like, did your parents come back? Did you get like a call?
I actually had trial, and they never had anybody bail out before. My dad got me out. And I was on house arrest, and I had to pay restitution, and I was on probation.
Do you feel like ese momento de tu vida te afectó mucho una manera that you're like, fuck,
yes,
I don't want to
like,
go back?
I do not belong here. I don't belong in this state. I was like, I need to get out of here. Yeah, it was the environment that I knew and I shouldn't grow up in.
You go through that. You said that you came back to California. What was life in California then? Do you feel like it kind of shifted you?
Well, see, while I was there, just trying to live my life because I was on probation, I would see these people, like, just on the street, wouldn't even know who they were, or I wouldn't even know that they were there, and I would get rocks thrown at my car window and all that, and I drove straight to my probation officer, and I said, I need to get out of here, please. Like, my grades are good, like, I'm trying to, like, better my life. This is when I started getting my wake-up call. I was like, I need to live good. I need to get out of here. He said, you get a plane ticket today, you can go. We didn't have the internet like that.
Yeah.
And we did a phone call. We showed the proof, and I got out of there ASAP. And as soon as I did, life was just so much better. I went to my grandma's house and by myself.
Was it hard for you to like be in that state? You know, obviamente you're so young and you're almost on your own, because I'm assuming during this time you didn't really have your parents to guide you.
No.
What was that like, trying to figure out, you know, life?
I knew that I had to do a lot of things on my own because, for one, I didn't want to put anything on my grandparents. I would say my grandparents were like a halfway house. They helped all the grandkids that ever need. They were always welcoming, always. And my other cousin lived there. My brother lived there at one point. I think we were all around the same age when they helped us. I remember they would give me like $2 or $3. I would not eat lunch. I would save all my money. And there was even one time where I was at school and we all got dressed, went to PE, came back. My money was gone, and I was literally livid because I saved up to like $27, and I was like, "That's the only money I have." The girls, like, they stole from everybody in PE class.
Yeah.
They stole from everybody. Came back with their nails done, all that.
Did you confront them or no?
Girl, I was so mad. Yeah, I confronted
You're like, those
them.
Are my now money.
Yeah,
that's my now
the
money.
Cops came,
Yeah.
and then shortly after that, I got into another fight in San Bernardino, and the same cop was there. He wrote me a citation, and he goes, you know what? and he ripped it up. He was like, "You're just going through too much." And I was like, "Tell me about it."
Do you feel like everything stemmed from, going back a little bit to, growing up with your parents being troubled? Do you feel like le batallaste más en la vida because of that?
It sounds crazy, but I almost commend them because it made me strong. As a child, I did everything on my own. Like when I ended up meeting my kid's dad and then getting pregnant, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I was getting insurance. I was going to places I didn't know, like WIC. I was taking care of everything. I was like, but with that, I knew, I was like, this is my baby, this is my family, and they're going to be good. And I made sure of that.
Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso. Obviamente tienes 3 hijos, tienes 2 daughters and a son. Mm-hmm. Cuéntanos de ese momento que conoces a tu ex marido, cómo se conocieron, who made the first move, and, eventually, how did you find out you were pregnant? What was their reaction, your grandparents' reaction? Cuéntanos todo eso.
How I met their dad was, there was a kickback, and it was actually so crazy. A friend from mine from Kansas came out to California because her father got transferred out to Kansas too for the same job. She kept saying, "Come hang out with me, come hang out with me." I was like, "Girl, I'm with my cousins now," And then she was about to leave, and I was like, "I gotta see my friend before she goes." And when I went, her dad was there, and I was like, okay, she has friends here, and we ended up talking. I ended up getting pregnant, and then when I found out, it was so crazy because when I let her dad know, he dropped the phone and then he left, and then his brother picked up and said, "He's throwing up. What did you tell him?" And then,
La noticia lo puso
Yeah, but not just that.
How did you find out?
My cousin would buy me my
your pads.
Yeah,
and stuff like
she
that?
would buy me my pads and stuff, and she goes, "You haven't asked me yet." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm getting thrown off because of my birth control. I just started." She didn't know. And why did I start birth control? Swear to God, because I wasn't really active like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't an active. I was crazy. I partied. I fought, but I was
up to there. Yeah,
up to that point. Girls, all it takes is one time, let me tell you that. When she said that she I hadn't reached out to her for it, she goes, "Let's just take it." And she goes, "Were you with him?" I was like, "Yeah, only one time."
But did you have symptoms or no?
Not that I knew of. I was just living life, and I was still hanging out. I think for her it was just funny.
Yeah.
And then when I took it, and it was an immediate shock, immediate shaking, and I couldn't even cry. I was just like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" We're talking about a different time too. Yeah. To the point where when you're pregnant, you're done. You're keeping it. You're taking care of your responsibilities. The man is either there or he's not there. That was it. That was done. That was it. At that point, my mind was like, I'm going to take care of my responsibilities. And it wasn't even a thought in my mind to, do any other options or anything like that. I did call my mom, and my mom was happy. Like, what? And my dad just said, "Your body's gonna change." I think my grandparents were the only ones that were they were the ones taking care of me. Yeah. They just seen so much more potential. They knew that I could do a lot more. And I think they were the ones that were like, damn.
In that moment, did you feel disappointed? Obviamente, tenías que como 17 años.
I would have to honestly say that I felt like I had, no matter who leaves me or where I'm at, I have my family now. No disrespect, but I didn't care if the father didn't even want to be there. I just knew I had my family now.
How was your pregnancy overall? Did you have any, complications? Was it a smooth sail? Did you have weird cravings? What was your pregnancy like? And this was with Josie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted a boy. I wanted a boy, but I think to take care of the rest of my kids in the future, because that's what I was always told. And my mom, she has 5 brothers, and I just always I just always just thought that that's how it should be. But when I did find out I was gonna have my girl, I was like, she's going to be a princess. I don't what is it? Bougie on a budget.
Yeah.
If I don't have the money for it, I'm gonna find something to make her good and look. You're so cute, It's she's gonna be my little doll. I didn't have any complications with her. I would say since I was so young, there was a lot of crying, a lot of fighting, and I did put myself into labor early. She was due on my birthday, but she wanted to have her own date. I always tell her so, but she came on the 17th and mine is on the 20th, so she came a little early, and I think it was just because of a lot of
stress and
Yes.
everything going on.
Yes.
Okay. Cuéntanos un poquito más del momento que te conviertes en mamá. Obviamente, you're a teen becoming a mother. What was that shift for you? Was it a hard adjustment, or was it something that you're like, you know what, maybe I need this in this moment? And if it was hard, which is totally normal, what were the hardest things that you had to adjust to when becoming a first-time mom?
I was actually told, you need to go out, you need to do things, because once you start showing, you're taking care of that baby. And I was like, you don't gotta tell me twice. I immediately took out all the piercings. I started dressing more reserved. I was like, I'm a mother now. Like, I was very accepting of it. I was happy. I was like, I mean, maybe you can say, I guess living in those times, maybe it was a little small-minded, because I felt like that's how you needed to, like, that's what life was all about, having kids, having a family, and then you die. But with me now, like, my perspective has totally changed in the way that, especially the way that I've raised my kids. I'm like, you guys have, knowing everything that I went through and all the raising that I did, I'm like, you guys could do that so much later. From my experience, just know that you have so much life.
Was it like very overwhelming for you being so young? Obviamente, you don't regret becoming a mother because tienes a tus hijos, gracias a Dios. But like, obviamente, en ese momento, you're so young, you've gone through so much stuff, and now, poniéndote la responsabilidad de ahora vas a ser mamá, tienes que cuidar a esta personita. Was that very overwhelming and just hard for you to like let that sink in?
I think I was so accepting of it. I think I was a little selfish too, because you know how they say, like, you have a village to help you?
Yeah.
I did have the help, but I didn't accept the help. I didn't want the help. I wanted to do everything on my own, and I did.
Going through so much trauma as a young kid, do you feel like you use that as in like, okay, like como nos cuentas, that you use things to like what you wanted to better in your life? Was that something that was constantly in your head? Like, you know what, like, this is my baby.
Yep.
Whatever my parents didn't do for me, I'm going to do that for them.
Yep. That's exactly what I did. I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. I didn't like how they did this, so I'm going to do. Yeah, I just wanted to do everything that I wanted to and form it to the way that I wanted. Yeah.
Obviamente it's super normal for women, especially after giving birth, to go into postpartum depression. Was that something que tú sufriste en ese momento, maybe at the moment where your hormones were going crazy, this was like a new chapter in your life? Did you experience postpartum?
I actually didn't with Josie or Nate. Tessa, I did, and it was kind of funny because I was sitting at the table. I just put Josie and Nathaniel to sleep. And then I was holding Tessa and I started crying. I was like, they're going to think I don't love them as much because I have a baby. They're going to be jealous of the baby. Like, I literally was crying like as if it was a death. Like, I was like, they're going to hate me because they think I'm showing more love. And they're like, no, you're just taking care of a baby, and it just ended up being maybe there was a lot of arguments towards that time, but that was when the recession happened and we didn't have money, we didn't have anything, and I swear we had one present each for all three of them, and it was like coloring books. So we were just going through a lot too at that time. I know we were living in an apartment complex. Everybody was going through it, and they actually skipped us and didn't reach out to us because we didn't pay the rent. And they ended up getting audited because they found out, so they came later. But I remember there was one time between our little family and the kid's father's family, we were trying to scrape change just to get a pizza. When my family found out, because I never reach out to my family, because I don't like them knowing anything or anything. When my family found out, my grandfather took me to the grocery store and just bought me groceries and said, don't ever do that again. And I got lectured for that. And but there was even a point where Tessa, I had a dog, and I loved that dog, and I took it to the swap meet and I sold it for diapers.
Aww. Mm-hmm. What did you tell Tessa? Like it ran away, or did she know that
she was just a baby?
Those
so I didn't
she was a baby.
I mean, she was like, she was a toddler, barely about to be a toddler. I think 11 months, maybe something like that.
So she just kind of like stopped seeing the dog. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no fue algo que le tuviste que explicar. That's crazy. I feel like in moments like that, you kind of have to do what you got to do to get by. What do you think was like the best thing that came out of becoming a mother?
The best thing that has ever come out of being a mother is just the love that you receive back. I don't think that coming from me and my words, no family member, no lover, no anything will ever have the love that you have for your children, or vice versa from them back. I think to experience that and to say that you live, that's what it's all about.
Quiero platicar de un tema that was super public a couple years ago. En el 2023, you and your husband at the time decided to get a divorce. And el divorcio fue muy público. You know, I feel like, you know, your daughters being in the public eye almost kind of, you know, made the divorce public as well. Cuéntanos un poquito más de ese momento. You know, what led to the divorce? What made you be like, you know what, yo ya no puedo estar en esta relación? Cuéntanos un poquito más de everything that you were going through during that time.
I think that every woman has their point where there's just no return. I believe that I can't speak for him, but it was probably 5 years before we ended things. So it took 5 years.
Where it started getting rocky?
Yes, very, very rocky. It got to the point where we just weren't talking, and we ended it within the marriage without him even leaving the home before it even ended. The kids didn't even know what was going on. He would sleep in one room, I'd sleep in the other. I'd make food, he didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I knew what I always wanted. I wanted a family.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep it together and just ignore things and other personal things that was really bad that had led up to where that made me have the decision to leave, to the point where I ignored it because my grandparents, I think, have been married for like 60 something years. And I was like, you just have to make it work.
Did you think that it was like part of marriage?
Yes.
Like, you know what, you just ignore things, keep it going, keep it moving?
Yes, because I mean, marriage is cliche, it's work. I mean, you make vows for a reason. It came to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to live with any regrets. I'm going to do everything possible. This is going to be my last thing that I'm going to do. I had made him lunch. I took the lunch to his job, and I was crying. I was depressed. I was crying every single night before that. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to make this work? If he doesn't want this, like, how is it that I'm going to make this, like, happen on my own?
And during that time, there was already talks between you and him of divorcing?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. So you guys were just trying to, like, work it out in silence, not communicating about it.
Well, no, it was like months that he said, like, I don't want to be with you. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be with you. But I knew that I wanted to, like, you know?
Yeah, you just thought it was like another one of those fights where you're like, okay.
Yes, exactly. I know the exact place and spot where it happened. Like, I think that's where it just set it over edge. And I was just like, wow. But I was like, let me make him lunch. Let me take it to him. And I'm going to show him, like, I'm going to make that I'm trying.
Yeah.
This is my last attempt to trying, because there was a lot of stuff that I was doing. I was even taking pictures of him, like, ignoring me. Like, I was just like, I'm nothing to him anymore. Like, I see it, I feel it, I know it. I went to his job, took him to the lunch. He said he didn't want to have lunch, and it was like a switch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done. And then I went home. That's when he did come, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. He goes, okay, good. As of right now, we are not together. And then he goes, when I come back from Arizona, I'm moving out. And I was like, all right. And we just left that at that, and we were doing, and then he had his moments with his own kids where he was fighting battles with them. There was a lot of tension with them. He just was, I don't know what he was going through at the time, but it was really bad with the whole family.
During that time, obviamente te dice que él se va a ir a Arizona, and when he comes back, it's going to be done. Did you still have kind of like, in you like, done. It's going to work out? Oh, you were already done.
It was like a light switch. It was 20 years just, I mean, obviously every marriage they fight and you work it out, but it just got too consistent and too much disrespect, and it just needed to yeah.
Did you feel guilt como mujer y como mamá? Obviamente, I feel like women a lot of the time, you know, try to keep the family together, not just for themselves, but also tienes una familia, tienes 3 hijos. During that time, did you ever feel guilt like, damn, I couldn't even keep my family together for my kids? If so, how did you deal with that guilt to make you like stop thinking that way and be like, no, like I got to think about myself, because if I'm not good, my family ain't gonna be good?
I would say honestly that I'm still even working on that, because I'm a little bit to the point where it's like,
it's okay.
Like, I failed, and that any relationship now that I have, and if it fails, like, I blame myself. Like, what am I doing wrong? And that's something that I'm working on.
Obviamente platiqué con tu hija Tessa, and she told us that during that time was really hard for you guys because you guys had to, move out of your house. Things changed very quickly when it came down to like the dynamic of your house and your living. What was that like for you? Obviamente, el sentirte que tuvieses que empezar de cero. Cuéntanos un poquito más de ese momento después de que se dejaron.
There's just one thing that was said. I mean, I talk a lot to Josie about like stuff, but there's only certain things that I can talk to her about. But it was actually, I have lived with this ever since Tessa was in the interview with you. I felt like mothers don't cry in front of their children. They don't let them see anything. They want to be strong for their kids. And one thing that Tessa had said was, my mom is strong. And I literally was sitting there and I was like, what? And she was just like, yeah, because she's still here and she's still trying. I felt like, dang, they do. She does see me strong. And after that, that's when I was like, okay, if I do go through anything, like, and if I am coming out of it, like, as long as, because I went through a really dark time, and your mind can think, you know. And I had really a lot of dark thoughts, and to where they shouldn't go there, and your life isn't over. It really isn't.
Did you feel that way at that moment? Like with the marriage, you felt like, you know what, like my life's done.
I think it wasn't even because of the marriage at that point anymore, because I was always even told in the marriage, I was always even told the kids are always first and I'm last, and I'm like,
like, you're right. I'm like, no lies were told.
At that point, it was not more or less that of losing the marriage. It was more or less that I didn't do things on my own, and now everything is going to be all on me. I think my depression was more coming from that. It wasn't the loss. It was just I'm gonna have this new life that I didn't expect that I was ever gonna have. Just to know that everything was gonna be on me, and I'm learning. I remember I jumped from my parents' house to my grandparents' house to my kids' father's house, and now I'm on my own. Now everything is on me. So now I'm learning everything on my own, because financially he took care of everything. I mean, we made our own money and everything, but he still did
like majority of the
he
bill
still did the majority of everything.
Yeah.
But to the point where someone told me, your registration is expired, and I was like, what is that? And I'm still learning to this day what a whole lot of stuff is. I don't know. And I somewhat feel in my mind like this young girl, like still trying, like now I have to figure everything out all over again.
How hard was it for you? Obviamente, you're going through it emotionally, but you also know that your kids are hurting, Ellos están perdiendo a sus papás estando juntos. Was that something hard for you? Was that something in the back of your head? Y cómo le hacías to try to be there for your kids, to try to make sure they were okay emotionally while still trying to hold it down for yourself?
I would literally go to them, check to see how they're doing, and I would like try to build up to where I had to be strong for that moment, and then go back in my room and lock the door just so that they wouldn't hear or know. I would think that they wouldn't hear me, but I was, just trying to hide from them so that they wouldn't see or anything. But I think with them though, like even like now in their relationships, or even not, and Tessa, like when she's not in a relationship, I always like, don't ever depend on a man. Don't ever do it, because then just learn everything on your own, do everything on your own, so that when but I do have to admit that I am guilty of having them depend on me, so it's a little,
you're like, fuck, you gotta take them off the what do they say? Is it cheese case and get them off the chichi, how they say, like, no more breastfeeding. Averíguensela.
The biggest thing to overcome was just losing the family unity, knowing that everything that I thought, like, it was like a facade almost, like it was not good. We have people that used to watch the YouTube videos. They're like, I thought you guys were so good. You guys look like this happy family. But eternally, because I know how it was, And I knew what it was like. When I see some of those videos, I'm like, yeah.
Does it trigger you?
Yes, because you could even see in the video where it's like, you could just know and see, and I'm just like, yeah, that's why we're not.
Like the acting, like, oh, this is not how we really are in our relationship.
And then a little bit of the realness does come out, and I'm like, yeah, there it is. No one else could probably see it, but I can. And
like, it was like those red flags you were ignoring in that moment that now you're like, fuck, no, that was there, present, you know?
where the kids even see it, notice it themselves.
Was it hard for you to like try to start finding yourself? What was that like? Obviamente, you know, you go through a period of depression. Is that something you're still struggling with, like depression and almost like finding yourself again when it comes to like feeling yourself, when it comes to, you know, feeling happy again? What's been that journey like for you?
I feel like since I was at a young age, I lived for my daughter. I lived for, at the time, my ex-husband. I lived for everybody, everyone. And I've never had my own personal life. I'm barely getting out of it right now, and it's been a couple years now. I have my days where it's really, really bad, but I'm still figuring it out, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit stronger.
Going through a divorce is something that is really hard for anyone at home watching, you know, women specifically. You know, hoy es el Día de las Madres. What is a piece of advice you can give to any women at home going through a divorce or has gone through a divorce que se les hace difícil, you know, get through that phase of their life? What's something that you would have wished you would have heard during that time of your life?
Please just like take it day by day, because it's going to feel like it's the end of the world. And you're going to think that you're not going to get through it. I have to admit, like after the separation, I did everything possibly wrong. I did what my mom did. It took a year and a half for me to open up my eyes, and I was like, I don't want to be like.
¿En qué manera? Like,
I would drink every single day. Every single day. When I woke up, to the point where I wasn't even eating, and I lost a lot of weight. I didn't even want to party. I was just in my room by myself, and I wanted to just drink
because drink your feelings away.
Yep. I was an occasional drinker, but I was drinking every single day, waking up with shakes, and then I would just wake up sick because I didn't eat. I just wouldn't remember. I wouldn't remember things. I wouldn't remember what I did, and I was sick and tired of just waking up not knowing. Yeah. And so I fixed it. I had an awakening.
What was that moment like for you? Do you remember like specifically what you were doing that you're like, fuck, yo no quiero seguir así?
It was where I had left my house and I wasn't in my right mind, and to the point where I could have gotten into some trouble, and it was before Tess's birthday, and I was like, what am I doing? I need to be here for my
daughter,
babies. And after that, like, I've just been better. I have my days, but I feel now. I take other avenues of like, okay, I'm going to tell her, let's go to Dutch. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And
para distraerte. Do you feel like your kids have been like a huge support system and you starting to feel yourself again?
Yeah. Tessa she kind of just like, she's there, but she's just like, lets me, you know, feel myself, do my thing, as I love that.
Yeah.
Because I don't like hoovering, and I like to have my moments to myself. But Josie, like when I come to her, she's all like, no matter if she doesn't like a situation, she's just there.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it's because like coming out of like this marriage, you lose your old high school friends. You don't talk to anybody, so I have nobody.
Yeah.
And I don't like telling my family anything. So the new friends that I have made and everything, I love everybody that is in it. And it's crazy because they are people that are in the industry.
You go a little bit more to Josie. Do you feel like that has a lot to do more with her being older? Because, you know, obviamente Tessa's still growing up. She's still a teen, you know, and you don't want to like put your problems onto her to where that stresses her out. Is that a reason why too, where you're like, you know what? Josie's older, maybe she might understand a little bit more?
Actually, I feel like Tessa understands more, and she's like more with things. I think I go to Josie more when it comes to that because she's more like me. She doesn't agree with a lot of stuff, and I just like I do like to like I don't like to hear
but
a lot of things. But it's good to
hear,
yeah. And it is hard when it comes to a lot of stuff too, because she's struggling with things on her own with her stuff. When it comes down to it, like if I was to give like the advice to myself, it would just be like, don't lose yourself. Just know it's not gonna end there. It's every you scroll on TikTok, you see all these videos, they're telling you this and that, and you're just like, yeah. And then, but it really, really is like, it's time. All you have to do is let time go by and then just go day by day. And everybody tells me like, oh, you just need a routine. No, you do what you want. You do what you want. If you want that routine, do it. If you don't, figure it out yourself.
At your own pace.
At your own pace.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, obviamente, to finish this topic, the divorce was so public, do you feel like that made it even harder because people kind of knew what was going on and they had like inputs about what was going on?
Well, first of all, like I've said many times, I don't like my personal life to, like, when it comes to that, or comes to the extent of that, I don't want that out there. But since people feel like they are obligated to know, like it was hard, and then for them to judge or think things, like even to the point where even family, they have that side and I have my side, and I just think that everybody should just move on, live their life.
Eso sí, I feel like with social media, ahorita vamos a empezar a platicar mucho más de las redes sociales. I feel like sometimes when you're going through shit, it makes it even harder when it's in the public eye because you know what's going on and you know how things happen, and it sometimes can get very upsetting when you see a CHISME page claiming something that is far from the truth, and you're like, bitch, like, I don't even have time or energy to like show face and like desmentir las mentiras. Quiero platicar de las redes sociales. Obviamente people see you online all the time, pero yo quiero saber cómo empezó todo esto. Obviamente your 3 kids are on social media, but how did all this start?
It all started with Josie. I didn't understand it at first. She was into group chats with like internet people. I was just like, like I knew MySpace and I did that, but it was with people you knew. You don't accept or be cool with people you didn't know. And then it just evolved, and it was just like, oh, this girl, I like the way she dresses, or like she's popular, I like the way she looks, like her makeup, and they would just follow. She was getting quite a bit of a following just being popular. And she had an interest in social media people. I took her to a meet and greet, and at the meet and greet, they were like, they recognized her. And I boom, light went off already. I was like, even these people know her. Like, I was just, staying quiet. And then I went with her. Of course, I didn't want to, but I'm going to be there with my baby. And then they recognized her, then they started following her. And when I seen the follow, and then after the follow, the people we paid to go see asked if they can come over to the house. I was like, can I get my money back?
You're like, can I get a refund? Literally. So that was like your moment where you're like, oh shit, my daughter, yo pensaba que se estaba haciendo mensa.
That was when it was starting to cook. Like, mind you, I have mentioned this before publicly, that I had in high school a party crew, and I thought of everything. I used to take all the girls to each party to get bigger and bigger. And I felt like that's literally what it felt like with her. Yeah. I was like, I can make her big and make her do, and
so instantly the MOMager kicked in.
Yeah, and because she was already a popular girl, and I think more or less it was because the way she dressed, the way she did her hair. I would do her hair. I would do everything, like. Even I know
you do nails y todo eso, right? I feel like a lot. Do people know that a lot? I feel like when I first started meeting the girls, I don't know if you do their nails now, but I think when I filmed with Josie the first time, I was so gagged. I remember seeing her nails, super like nice nails, you guys. I'm talking about like $200, $300 nails. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, your nails are so cute. My mom did them, and I was like,
we even had, I don't know the name, but we even had was she a rapper? That she reposted, and it was because of the nails, and I was like,
you're like, that's me.
I did that.
Did you ever want to become like a nail tech at any moment?
I'm a licensed cosmetologist, so that was something that I specialized in, but with the divorce, I lost interest. But I mean, it's kind of a domino effect too, because like, I have to admit, it does take time and to do that.
And Carpentano.
But I mean, I make more money like
Being a momager.
Yeah.
Well, how old was Josie at the time when it was starting to like blow up?
I would say 14.
You start seeing her popularity. When did you start seeing it like, oh shit, this can actually become a business for my daughter? Like, was there a moment where you realized like, what the hell, they're paying her to do this?
Yeah.
And what was that shift for you? Like, you know what? Aquí me tengo que poner las pilas. I have to act like her manager so they don't take advantage of her.
Oh yeah. I think the day of when she went to go hang out, it was like the second meet and greet I took her to, dropped her off, went to Nathaniel's baseball game, and she had hung out with one of her friends, and he posted a picture, and I was looking at her Instagram, and she was just growing. Back then, it was you post with somebody, you
would blow up, yeah.
And I'm telling you, by the second, thousands and thousands and thousands, and I was like, I'm taking over. I'm gonna buy your clothes. I'm gonna do your hair. I'm gonna do, to the point where like even just to switch things up, I even colored her hair, like, and it hit, and then she grew more. Like, it was like little things. Nowadays, I would say it's drama that does it. But back then it was just like fashion and stuff like that. So like I would switch it, make things like it was more clothes. So I would like, okay, you could do this, and then it was like being risque with like other stuff, like, you know, that mothers wouldn't let them do. And I was like, I don't care what people say about me. I even had family members, you let her wear that? And now it's, you know them.
You're like, duh. That's crazy. Were there moments where you didn't believe how popular she was getting?
So I think I had my aha moment when I was sitting next to a celebrity for the second time, and I was like, when you see people repeatedly, like you end up becoming like, you know, friends mutuals, or your mutuals. And then I was just like, wow, like my daughter did that. Like, I mean, as a team, but still she did, you know?
You becoming their momager. What is that like for you? Obviamente, being a mom and a manager, what's your day-to-day life as their manager and as their mom? And is there moments where you're like, okay, you know what? Me toca ser mamá en este momento. I don't care about the social media shit. I'm a mom now, right now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I've had moments to where whenever we make a decision about something, or Tessa, I got her a deal, and she was just like, I don't want to do that. And then I said, okay, we'll go work a 9 to 5. And then, okay, I'll go do it right now. Like, you know?
It was like a quick 5-minute video.
But I tell them whenever it comes to like something, and I'm like, this is mom telling you to do this. The manager's telling you to do this. You make the decision. Yeah. Because I don't want to be that. I do not want to be that mom to where it was my mom made me do it. My mom had me do. I want my kids to be kids at the end of the day. I think in the industry, though, it has made, like, for instance, Tessa grow up a little faster. Yeah. I'm okay with that because at the end, she's with me. She's not, you know, I know where she's at. I know what she's doing. And it's like, she's becoming a boss. So,
and I feel like you get a lot of backlash online for that. ¿Cómo te hace sentir cuando, you know, you go online and you see people not just attacking, you know, your children, but also you as a mom? Does that ever affect you, or how do you react to situations like that?
I think it does to an extent, but not to where it ruins my day. I will mention it and they'll be like, don't let it bother you. And I'm just like, no, it doesn't. I just block. Yeah. Like, you'll never get a chance to ever see my stuff again. You make another account, you say something, getting blocked again. Like, I could do it all day. I even have an assistant that blocks people for me.
You're like, I don't even want to do it anymore. No. Period. I love that. But you know what, you guys, not even to their defense, but one thing I will vouch for is how present you are whenever your girls go out. Even if you aren't at the actual event itself, you are outside waiting. Yo me acuerdo una vez, yo pienso, I think it was with Josie for sure. I think it was Carnaval. And I think we were like getting ready to like, I think they were like trying to see the other plans or something. And she's like, I can't. My mom's already been outside. Yeah. Like my mom stayed outside the whole time I was here. That's crazy because I feel like, you know, obviamente la gente like to talk and think the way they do, but they don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. You obviously are seeing this like, okay, I'm gonna let my daughter go because, you know, this is a business move. You know, I want them to be out there, you know, in the industry, do these opportunities, cool opportunities que se les está dejando. But you're also like, no, I want to make sure they're safe too at the end of the day, which I feel like people don't see or don't like to acknowledge at least.
And I won't, if anybody, whenever they say anything about me, I'm like, they don't know. They think bad of me, whatever. Like, they don't feed me.
Literally.
Well, I mean, Technically, if you want to keep hating, you do.
You're like, wait, actually, y'all do. I love that though, because I feel like to be on social media, you have to have like thick skin. Si no, pues no la vas a hacer.
There's even to a point where there was something very serious that my daughter has discussed, and something I wouldn't have brought to online, but she has, and I get a lot of, you let her do this, you let her do that, when they're not realizing that she is a teenager and she is going to do things behind my back or do things that I don't know. And by far would I ever let anything horrible or bad happen to my daughter. And I think that's sick that some people do say, you let this happen, and I would never. And by far would I let that ever happen.
You know, obviamente as a mom, how do you protect or at least help when it comes to your kids' mental health, knowing that social media can be so negative? Is there ever moments when they're going through stuff online where you kind of have to sit down and be like, look, baby, que no te importe lo que la gente está diciendo? What is that usually like for you when you have to sit down and talk to your kids?
Yeah, I think that was something that we dealt with Josie when she first started out. And then we just learned from her. And then, of course, Tessa's learning, and she still does things on her own without talking to us about it. Then the both of us jump on her and say, hey, like, don't do that again, or do you not remember this is what happened? And then we clear it up. But one thing that with us, if anything does go down, or if some, like, anything comes of something for no reason, then we know how to just, all you got to do is your phone down.
Seeing how bad social media can get, has there ever been moments like, fuck, I shouldn't have, let social media take over our lives, or I shouldn't have let my kids do social media because it has affected them in this way? Or has it always been like, wow, like, I'm so grateful to be in the position that we are?
I am so grateful and thankful that we are in where we are. I don't think I would take anything back, and for that is because we're living in this day and age, so it was bound to happen if they were the watcher or the influencers. So, and they're very blessed to be where they're at and working in what they do. I'm sure anybody would want to be in their position. I just hope that they keep doing everything positive that they can and not, use it for anything bad. And I'm just proud of all my kids and everything that they're doing.
Your kids have gone viral, pero tú también. Hace como que 2 años, or maybe last year, was it like 2 years ago? You had a very viral moment. There was so many videos made of you, and it was like a whole trend with the, ooh, I want that one. She a bad one. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, some of the videos would make me crack up because I'm like, ¿cómo chingados do people come up with the captions? Like those stupid ass captions that they would write with all those videos. How did that come to be? How did that happen? And when you saw that video going viral and that trend going viral, how did you react to it?
It's kind of funny because I didn't even know it went viral because everybody was sending it. Like, there was a couple people that had sent it to me, but that was at the time where I was like phone down.
Okay.
So I didn't really know as big as it had gotten. I think it was because it was a whole situation that went down with Josie. She did get into an altercation with somebody, and I had seen that they were accusing me of doing something, of taking something, and then they just went off from there. And then I think from that, people picked up on it, and they were just thinking, let me just put this, let me put that.
Like the different captions, because I do,
I never got offended. I never got offended. I thought it was all funny. And then when I had my daughter, Tessa, when she came up to me, she goes, Mom, do a TikTok with me. I was like, oh, okay. All of a sudden.
No, that video was so viral. I swear to God, when, obviamente, I know how it kind of started, but I feel like, I thought it started becoming funny when it kind of left why it started, and more when people made it more as a funny thing. Like, I remember seeing like when the last bag of hot Cheetos or something, like when they started getting super creative where it wasn't even like anything to do with the drama or the problem, and it started just being like for a captioning for the funs and giggles. I thought it was so funny and it was so iconic. Do you look back at it now and you're like, mood, that is fucking hilarious?
Yes, girl. When I knew it is when I seen this guy from Amsterdam mocking me. I was like, okay, I think this went a little too far now.
Did you ever like playing along with it?
I don't really do like stuff that. I just do whatever I'm in the mood for, but I was letting them know that I see.
Because that video even got uploaded way before like the drama or anything happened. People just like went back and grabbed it or not.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But you know what? At least you knew it was all for fun and games. Aunque sea no te ofendiste. I feel like the video, like the whole trend was like funny.
So
but
funny.
I'm glad that you got past it. You know, ya para terminar el tema de social media and just the interview in general, ¿en dónde te miras tú en los próximos 5 años? Whether that is, you know, your personal life, your life as a momager, where do you see your kids going? What are goals that you want them to achieve? ¿En dónde te miras tú en los próximos 5 o 10 años?
Oh, wow.
I love that. Oh, wow. I love it. I love that. Oh, wow. Yes.
It's because like I see so much for them and or just in general. Like I have Josie to doing a show she's about to do, and then us doing our own as a family, my son doing his clothing, and I just want them to all achieve great things in their lives and set themselves up so that they can have a good life for themselves. For me, I just want to die. I just wait.
You're like, I'm done.
No, as for me, I just want to be good and happy and healthy and be there for my kids when they need me.
I love that. And I just want to say I had a great time platicando aquí contigo. Yo sé que allá en casita les gustó conocerte un poquito más because like I said, I feel like they know who you are, but not really know much about you. You know, you let us in a little bit more into your childhood, things you've gone through. And I know it was really hard to open up and just, you know, be vulnerable, but I really do appreciate. Yo sé que allá en casita también lo aprecian mucho.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Si no lo han seguido, amigas, vayan y síganla. I'm going to go ahead and leave her links down below as well as her username on the screen. Y no se les olvide seguirme a mí so you guys won't miss any future episodes. And with that being said, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yay.